I'm Joe Burr, and I graduated in 1968 from high school. I went into the Army in September of '68. My older brother Tony enlisted in early '68. Me being a follower, I followed in his footsteps. I had no idea of, it hadn't even dawned on me that I was going to be going to Vietnam, and I didn't. I never made it to that side of the world. Tony, his training was in language, and he studied Vietnamese language, so he knew from the get-go that he was going to be going to Vietnam as a translator. You go through a battery of tests in basic training to find out what your best aptitude would be. And fortunately, I was not good as a grunt. Mine was toward, I guess, more of a code kind of a thing, and so they thought, well, put him in radio intercept. Led me to Asmara, Ethiopia. In Asmara, there was a place called Cagnu Station, and that was a joint Army-Navy installation, and it all had to do with communication, radio intercept. And so what we would do was monitor communications between A and B, and a lot of it was commercial, because a lot of information can be gleaned from what's this company shipping to this company. What really dawned on me, and it was very apparent, was the difference in the way that people lived between the city and the country. You go into the country and it's like walking back in time. Even the manner of dress. I remember seeing pictures in the Bible of the goat herders, and that's what they had, you know, people walking around with a stick. And you look out and there's a camel, and he's munching on prickly pears, and they got these big thorns sticking out of their tongues. I mean, wow, I'd never, I'm an American. I've never seen anything like that. One of the first things I did when I was there, I bought a motorcycle. It was a 450 Ducati. It was a great bike. And some of our friends and I would go down the mountain, across the desert to the Red Sea. The Army had a resort down there, and that was a good time. On the base, on Cagnu Station, we had a enlisted man's club. I ended up meeting a young lady, Dini, and we struck up a relationship. All my life, my adult life up to that point, I was terrified of women. I didn't do much dating in high school, scared to death of women. And somehow, it must have been alcohol-induced that gave me some courage to approach this young lady. I don't even remember the name that she introduced herself as. As I found out, it was not her name. And I don't know if she was just trying to, blow me off or get rid of me or whatever. I don't know. I made it past that. What we had in common, I can't think of books or movies or poetry. I don't know. I know that when I was there, I was involved with an orphanage, and I'm sure that she was aware of this. There's a very strong Italian influence in Ethiopia. Her father was Italian, her mother is Ethiopian. She had a daughter at the time who was 8 years old, and I know now that her name was Simonetta. At the time, she was living with her mother. I've never met her father. From what I understand, he had several businesses in Asmara. My intent was that our relationship would end. When I left Ethiopia, BJ wasn't there at the airport when I left, and I could never figure out why.
I'm Patrizia Saladini Stark, and I was born in 1971 in Asmara, Ethiopia, to an Italian-Ethiopian lady named Bice Maria Stark, Saladini at the time. And I had an 8-year-old sister, Simonetta. We lived there in Ethiopia for about a year until my mom decided to move to Italy. And then she went into nursing school there in Italy, and in the meantime put Simonetta and I in an orphanage just to be taken care of while she lived at the hospital where she got her training. And she had met an American sailor back in Ethiopia, and they had continued corresponding back and forth. He, at some point, proposed to her, and she accepted, and they got married. So we moved here to the United States. He, treated me very well. I didn't know the wiser. I wasn't the wiser until my sister told me. She told me, that man was not my biological father. And so that made me question to my mom, who is my biological father? And, she didn't want to reveal anything, so she would just say, I don't remember.
January of 71 is when I left Ethiopia. I got there in the middle of 69, so I was there for 18 months, and I left early, in January of 1971. After I left there and was stationed in Virginia, I got a letter from one of my buddies back at Cagney Station, and in the letter he said, "Why didn't you tell me that Biche was pregnant?" I thought he was just trying to mess with me. I didn't even consider the fact that she might have been pregnant. I just knew Bill and knew the kind of guy he was, and thought he was just trying to, get one on me.
I didn't understand what had happened. How did this all come about the way that it did? And so, from my sister's recollection, there was a man who held me when I was 2 weeks old for like 15 minutes and then left. And in her mind, this is who is my father. So she would describe this person, this man, that came and held me as a child and then had to leave. And I wanted to know who he was. You get curious, you get interested, and you want to know who you come from. You want to know your history, your background. And that made me question to my mom, who is my biological father? I felt that it was a very sensitive subject for her, so I let it go and always just kept in the back of my mind wondering, who is he? Where is he? What's his name? What does he look like? Is he still alive? Is he in good health? All the questions that you would think. And just kept like that for many years. And every once in a while, as I grew older, I would ask her again, thinking maybe she thinks I'm old enough to know now. So I would ask again, and always got the same response. And so,
at some point after I left, Eritrea won its independence from Ethiopia. At the time, it was just a northern province of Ethiopia. And after they won their independence, there was a dictate, I suppose, saying that you either had to be, they would not accept dual citizenship. So you either had to be Italian or Ethiopian. If you chose to stay Italian, you could not work in Ethiopia. Biche decided that she would maintain her Italian citizenship and knew that she couldn't work in Ethiopia, so she took the family to Italy. For years afterwards, I kept wondering, I wonder if that might have been something,
In my mind, I thought that he knew about me, and that for whatever the circumstances were, wasn't able to be there. And so the feeling I had was, there's a man out there somewhere who's brokenhearted, that he knows he has a daughter and he can't be with them for whatever reason, and that made me sad.
I got an honorable discharge in 1972, March of 1972, and Joyce and I got married in early 1972, and Zach was born in 73, Camille was born in 75. I was in my alcoholism at the time, all the way up through, I got sober in 1986, and it was in 87, Joyce and I got divorced.
My sister was in the similar situation where she has a father that she doesn't know who he is. And she would also ask, I want to know my father, who is he? So the two of us were like in a parallel journey trying to find our fathers. And she found a website once, computers came into the picture of Cagnu Station, that people that used to be stationed there would post things and, just kind of reminiscing, oh, I was there at this time and we did this. And so she figured that maybe if my mom's name was mentioned on there, maybe somebody going back and looking for her or something, that we can track like a starting point to find out who this person is. Every once in a while, we would go back, even together or separately, go back to the website, keep looking, read post after post after post, and kind of started feeling like looking for a needle in a haystack. And you kind of get, discouraged. And I got to the point where I came to realize the possibility of maybe never finding out is there. Like, you have to accept that fact. Maybe you'll never know. And that's, a little devastating and sad, but what else can you do?
It was in December of '88 that Mary and I got married, and it was in November of 2017 I got a letter.
One day my husband bought me an Ancestry DNA kit, and he said, maybe there's a chance at least you can find him. And I didn't want to put my hopes up because I've already, like all these years, been through an emotional roller coaster. And I know how it feels to feel, your dreams crushed. So I didn't want to put hopes. So I said, well, maybe not, maybe so, but at least I'll find out what nationality I am, because I only know half of me. So I said, that'll be a plus. So I took the DNA test and got the results back and told me, the breakdown of the different nationalities and the percentage of what and everything. So it was intriguing to me even just from that aspect. And then the first two names that I saw was my mom, and it said that she is your mother. And the next name was my brother, or half-brother, from my mom's side of the family. And I didn't even know that they took the test as well. That's how I found out. I said, oh my goodness, like, wow. The next person closest to me that was matched was someone, didn't have the name, but it had initials, JH. And so I said, okay, I don't know who she is. Maybe she's a half-sister, because she's under the same category as my half-brother. Maybe her father is my father. So I looked into her family tree, and the father's name said Herman Joseph Burr. So I took this name. With the help of my husband and my daughter, the three of us relentlessly on the computer trying to do our research, we plugged this name Burr into the Cagnu Station website. Said maybe this will narrow it down a little bit for us. And pops up a post with the name Joe. So I said, okay, so it's from the middle name. Maybe he goes by the middle name. And, I was in Ethiopia this time, and we did this and went to the orphanage. And so I said, okay, this is the starting point of looking to see, this has to be him, So we wanted to cross-reference this with the DNA site and the documents that you can find on there. So we went back to the DNA website and found that Herman Joseph Burr had passed away in, I think it said 1985. So I jumped to conclusions thinking that, my father had passed away, and I don't have the opportunity now to meet him, not knowing that there's someone else with the same name. So, I broke down, I was crying, and Kevin, my husband, said, he looked at the age and he said, something's not right here. It's not matching up. This can't be the person. So we digged a little further, did a little bit more research, and found out there's another person with the exact same name, but the second. So Herman Joseph Burr II, that was like a generation younger. Okay, this is starting to make a little more sense. So we dug a little further and found out that he is indeed still alive, and where he's living and everything like this. Enough information to be able to contact him at least. That was the beginning of, okay, now we're pretty sure that this is a person. We referenced the email address that was used to post to put the post on the website for the military station with the name that's the younger person. So we said, okay, yes, now it's matching up. Now we know, most likely we have the right person. So, of course, my first instinct is I want to jump on a plane, go to him and give him a big hug and tell him who I am. But, my kids that have a more stable mindset said, hold your horses. Let's think about this. Maybe you might want to just sit down, write a letter, explain, I said, yeah, you're right. So I wrote a letter explaining who I am and, my background and my mother's name. I mentioned my mother's name and explained that, I got matched to your family, and with some research, I, believe that you might be my father, and that if it's a possibility to meet, then, that would be wonderful. And I gave him all of my contact information, phone number, email, any which way you want to contact me is fine with me, and take your time. I know it's a lot to process. Don't think like you have to rush into it, because I had all this time since I was 12 to process this information. It wouldn't be fair for me to just, expect something in return so quickly. So just kind of made him understand that I understand, or I can at least see your position. And I sent it, registered, return receipt requested, certified, restricted, all that, so that I send it off and not wonder, well, if I don't get contacted back, did he not get the letter, or what's the situation? So I wanted to make sure, at least I know, okay, he got the letter and signed for it, and then if never contact again, then I'll be okay with that. At least I know that I know a name, I know, that he knows about me. And if he decide that, that's it, he doesn't want contact, then that's okay with me. I respect that. But if, at least give him a chance to decide what, he would like to do.
I got this letter, and it was certified, return receipt, everything that needed to be crossed the T's and dots the I's, and so my first reaction was, oh my gosh, there's some legal stuff going on here, and I'm going to be sued. But then I saw the return address, and it said Patrizia Saladini Stark, and I knew that Saladini name because that was Biche Saladini. And so then I thought, And so I had the letter for probably an hour or so before I even worked up the guts to open it up. But once I did, I just, what's the word? It was, well, I tell you, it was joy, sadness, embarrassment. Yeah, I mean, I went through the whole gamut of emotions, thinking that you know, this whole thing could have been devastating. It could be wonderful.
And I got a letter back on December 1st of last year, and it was just a life-changing. And then I got a text saying, you know, when can I call? And I said, anytime. Yesterday, 34 years ago. But so I said, anytime you can call. And he called the same day, and we talked and got to know a little bit about each other, and started, you know, reminiscing about the past, and decided, you know, he actually invited me to a family reunion that was happening at the end of that month. And so I made arrangements to, you know, be able to come to Indiana and meet him and some of the other family members. Yeah, and it's hard to contain all of your emotions, and always wondering, you know, what it's going to be like when you first see him. And I remember walking down the hallway there of the airport, and we had already known the spot that we were going to meet, and we arrived, and just I turned the corner, I saw him, and it was just like, wow, oh my goodness, this is the person all these years that I would have been wondering about.
Matching it up. Matching it up.
Hi, Z. Oh, wow.
All of the emotions that I had been trying to contain exploded. So, you know, I cried and felt at home.
I got rid of the embarrassment. I got rid of the shame. I kept the joy, immense joy. Those other emotions were what I put on myself. What Patricia's put on me is loving and originally when we first got together, one of my concerns was that I spent a lot of time getting to know her, and I was concerned that Zach and Camille might have looked at this as taking something away from them, and I did not want that to be. So I broached this subject with both Camille and Zach, and was assured that it took nothing away from our relationship, my relationship with them. This is just a new relationship that I want to and need to foster.
And it didn't take away anything from the man who raised me, because I bonded with him and he was my dad. And, you know, he will always be my dad. I went to my father's grave before I contacted Joe, and I felt at peace. I felt like, you know, he would be okay with this and he would understand. Growing up, I always felt like the black sheep of the family, because my mom is very serious and strict and not very laid back or anything like that. And I was the complete opposite of that. And so I like to joke around and kid. And as soon as I met Joe and the rest of the family, I felt like, oh, okay, this is where I, you know, fit in. And every single last person that I've met, and even haven't met but have been in contact with, have been so open-hearted, welcoming, generous, kind, warm, humorous, and yeah, I found that out, and it's just, it was such a relief and a comfort, and to discover this about him and his family. And if you could mention something that Zach said so eloquently when you spoke to him about your love for them not being diminished.
Lighting one candle from another candle does not diminish the light from the first candle.
Right.
Yeah. Here's what I believe, and here's my goal. I want to become so involved in her life that she, at some point, can call me Dad. I've not earned that yet. I've heard it said that there's no such thing as a coincidence. It's a miracle when God chooses to remain anonymous. And I think he was anything but anonymous in this.